goodness and all the attacks on life, freedom, coexistence, and civilization that we thought we had built. We demand more policies and programs for security, health, education, for a dignified life, water, housing, technologies, tranquil community life, employment and progress within the reach of everyone, for the good of everyone. On the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, let us promote more and more coherence of human consciousness. We must continue to raise our voices, joining hands and hearts, crying out and fighting, demanding and striving, so that this stage of life on this planet that we share ceases to be marked by death in all of its forms, by the kidnapping of intelligence and soul, so as to become instead inspiration, encouragement, and the strength of hope. We all need to work in sustainable, capable, ingenious, and creative union. We all need to keep making our way. We need to be committed and steadfast to build unity, building brotherhood and sisterhood, affinity and unity, which is the true strength, fulfilling the always further on, which as a deep spiritual currency should be a daily anthem for each person, for everyone. On the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, we all need to change the paradigm. We need to change attitudes. We need to change our behavior. We need to be truly human, to stop repeating the past without results. Unity, along with brotherhood and sisterhood, should be the path that we all take together, with courage and pride, so that we continue to create this other world, which is already taking shape. It must become a new dawn. Poverty, violence, and arrogance are ignorance. To love is to fight, to strive, to fight and to fight on, to overcome, overcome, and overcome. A patriotic nation and dignity, a patriotic nation and humanity. Thank you for your attention.
Muchas gracias. I thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nicaragua. I now give the floor to His Excellency Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher, Secretary for Relations with States of the Holy See.
Mr. President, I am pleased to convey the warm greetings and blessings of Pope Leo XIV to you and the representatives of the nations gathered here, and to congratulate you on your election to lead this assembly. At the outset, I would like to thank this General Assembly for the tribute paid to Pope Francis following his demise last April. As you may all know, when Pope Leo XIV was elected, his first words to the world were, "Peace be with you all." A peace that is unarmed and disarming, humble and persevering. In a word torn by wars and conflicts, he made peace to be his first message. Mr. President, the theme chosen for this year's general debate, Better Together, 80 Years and More for Peace, Development and Human Rights, highlights the ongoing importance of multilateral cooperation in addressing global issues. This is particularly pertinent this year, as the international community commemorates the establishment of the United Nations in 1945. It is an opportune moment to reaffirm the organization's core values of fostering international peace, development, and universal human rights, values that are all the more important in an increasingly fragmented world. It is crucial for the international community to take collective action to prevent and end conflicts, combat poverty, and advance human rights solemnly declared in the 1948 Universal Declaration, and one of the most important achievements of this organization. It is important to remember that isolationism leads to unpredictable instability, whereas unity fosters responsible resilience and shared is strikingly evident in the current circumstances. Widening inequalities and rising poverty demand renewed global solidarity. The United Nations must adapt itself to a transformed world and maintain its effectiveness in the face of emerging threats such as environmental degradation and technological disruption, which no single country can tackle alone. As representatives of all the nations of the globe, we are united by our shared humanity, created in the image and likeness of God, called to live in fraternity, solidarity, and mutual respect. In a world grappling with mounting challenges, it is necessary to recommit to the foundational pillars of peace, justice, and truth. It is imperative to explore and build on these pillars, while drawing lessons from history to forge a more equitable future. Mr. President, of the many crises currently affecting the international community, the war in Ukraine is one of the most profound and painful. Its prolonged existence is turning once vibrant cities into piles of rubble and extinguishing the smiles of children who should be growing up playing games instead of living amid the constant sound of sirens and in shelters. This war must end now. The Holy See renews the appeal made by Pope Leo XIV for an immediate ceasefire, which will pave the way for sincere and courageous dialogue. The Holy See is paying close attention to the situation in the Middle East with a view to achieving a just and lasting peace between Israel and Palestine based on a two-state solution in accordance with international law and all relevant United Nations resolutions. Pope Leo XIV implored that all the hostages be freed, that a permanent ceasefire be reached, that the safe entry of humanitarian aid be facilitated, and that humanitarian law be fully respected, especially the obligations to protect civilians as well as prohibitions of collective punishment, indiscriminate use of force, and the forced displacement of the population. Moreover, an equitable solution to the issue of Jerusalem based on international resolutions is essential for achieving a just and permanent peace. Any unilateral decision or action which alters the special status of Jerusalem and the status quo is morally and legally unacceptable. With regard to Syria, the Holy See supports the importance of a peaceful and just transition in the country, as well as the protection of the rights of Syrians of all ethnic and religious backgrounds without discrimination. The instability afflicting many African states generates profound and interconnected challenges. In this scenario, the Sahel, Cabo Delgado, and some areas of the Horn of Africa emerge as zones of instability. In fact, the jihadist threat, endemic poverty, illicit trafficking, the climate crisis, and internal conflicts converge in a spiral that puts the lives of millions of people at risk, despite the efforts of local governments. In the face of these challenges, the resilience of African communities, especially young people, remains an essential resource that must be supported with targeted investments in education, health, infrastructure, and inclusive governance models. More than ever, a coherent and lasting commitment by the international community is essential to support African countries on their path to stability, peace, and economic development. The deterioration of the situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is a source of concern for the Holy See. The provinces of Ituri, North Kivu, and South Kivu are experiencing ethnic tensions, violence perpetrated by rebel groups, armed clashes, serious human rights violations, and disputes over the exploitation of natural resources. The Holy See welcomes the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement between the DRC and the M23 armed group, as well as the peace agreement signed by the Congolese and Rwandan foreign ministers, which